Welcome to Spin Justice with me, Hayley Owens, the podcast where I'll be talking about anything from health and fitness to the injustices of the world and everything in between. I've worked within the criminal justice system for over 20 years and have more recently taken to teaching indoor cycling, otherwise known as spin. Each week I'll be talking to a different guest about a topic that's personal to them, whether it be to raise awareness or just because. Most episodes will contain strong language because of who I am as a person, so if that's not for you, then probably best to swerve. Any opinions expressed by me are my own. Hayley Brown,
Hello,
welcome.
darling.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good for seeing you.
Yeah, I feel like we're mates now, so this is just going to be a cup of tea and a
And the
chinwag.
last time I was here, I remember being really nervous because it was the first time I'd recorded in a studio. So I'm a bit more chilled now.
Yeah, oh, was that the
That was
first
the
time?
first time.
And was that with me?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've already been on your podcast.
Yeah.
That was on sort of solo. It was on really what we'd call ourselves as single
Yeah.
parents, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Whether we solo,
Yeah.
single, because some people have got opinions on it. I haven't really.
No.
I don't
Everything
really care.
changes. Language changes constantly, and then the meaning of what things mean. And parenting changes. I think parenting now is just so different.
Yeah.
And
Oh, God, yeah.
It's no wonder we feel inadequate. It's just the value and meaning of what it is to be a mum or a single mum.
Yeah.
Single mum obviously is massive now in terms of people's situation.
Yeah.
Do you know more single mums or do you?
No. I'd
No.
say not. I'd say the majority of my friends are in relationships. If they're single, they don't have children. The majority of them, that is.
Yeah.
So no, I would say I'm probably in the minority in my circle. But my boys, we were talking about the ages of the kids and how old we were just before. You were young when you had your first daughter. So you've got two girls, I've got two boys. And you were 20 when you had your first. I was 24 when I had my first. So I feel like now we're both 40 this year, aren't we?
Yeah.
Our kids are growing up.
I know.
See, I've got some friends that are only they're still in the baby stages.
Yeah. And that's different. It's where it's quite funny because I remember all my friends going, "Oh my God, Hayley's gone and got herself up the duff. She's pregnant," and that they're kind of they were out having fun while I was being a mum, and now they can't get enough of me because they're like, "Help, Hayley, help!"
Yeah,
and you're like this
yeah,
mum that's capable, and they're looking up to you. Whereas before they were not looking down to you, but they were like, "You've gone and got pregnant young." And
yeah.
whereas now they're looking up to you and going, "You got pregnant young, and now help us."
See, I feel like imagine having a baby now.
I know. My daughter's 19, and I'm thinking to myself, no, she's not 19, sorry, she's 19 this year, she's 18. But she's going to be my age that I had her, and I look at her and I'm like, no, I didn't do that.
But I think, and especially when I see people pregnant now, as much as I really loved being pregnant, I did. I loved it.
And I did.
I weren't sick or anything,
No,
I didn't have it. I just loved it.
That's
and
good.
if I could do that again without the baby.
Is it different the second time though?
No,
Did
it
you
was
love
even
as
better.
much? Really?
Yeah, it was even better. Everything was even better about it, even the birth itself.
Yeah, it was easier for me the second time round, but I don't think I embraced it as much because I had so much shit going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just something you kind of got on with,
Yeah, and I feel like if I was to get pregnant now, it would probably be different on my body because I'm older. So I feel like I would feel things more.
100%.
But then I also feel like if I had a baby now, I'd be a lot more patient, and I'd probably I do think I'd be a better version than I was 15 years ago when I had my first, because I was stressed and I was anxious and I weren't in the best place. But that was probably because of things that I've talked about before on the podcast, overexposure to things that I was dealing with every day at work, and it affected me mentally. But I feel that I'd be such a better version and patient now if I was handed a baby to look after.
Yeah.
But I don't think my body could cope with it as much as it could back then.
Yeah, I think my body could cope, but I'd be worried about the aftermath of snapping back, not just physically in terms of aesthetics, but hormonally, because you know, we're going into that perimenopausal stage, and to kind of, I don't know if it'd be a good or bad thing to be pregnant. I suppose it would be a good thing because you'd have to produce all loads more hormones and things. There's so much information that we're not taught, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, what does pregnancy do to us really during our 40s? Is it, you know, you're known as is it a
Geriatric mother, yeah.
I don't know, what's that mean?
That's offensive, man. Like,
I don't know.
I just think,
Yeah.
and I think as well, that's even like late 30s, isn't it? Or that term is used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a bit worrying because, and I was listening to Diary of a CEO's latest episode on this woman's basically talking about the negative impacts on childcare and how mothers really need to stay with their children, and how the economy and society isn't operating by allowing that to happen, which is why there's a mental health epidemic and stuff. It's a really interesting.
I'll listen to that.
It's interesting, but it's also really like, oh crap, like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like things that she says based off of real kind of substantial research, and like having more time. I think, you know, you would make more time for your child, but my maternal cup is almost a little bit empty now because I've had situations where I've dated guys, for instance, because I have got a young head on my shoulder. Like, I'm young at heart.
Yeah,
so,
I am too.
You know, there's been guys in the past that are quite young and they'll be like, no, we don't want kids anymore. And then like 18 months in, they're like, you're such a good mom and you've made me realise I want kids now.
Yeah,
I'm
like, bye.
See ya. And I've had to really think about it because I've, you know, cared for someone and I'm like, could I, couldn't I?
Yes.
And I just think it wouldn't be fair. Whereas you say you'd be a better person or a better mum, sorry. I agree because I see the difference in like my 18-year-old and my 12-year-old. My 18-year-old keeps saying, you didn't do this for me and that didn't happen for me. And I have to keep explaining to my older one and saying, your mum's a better version now. She's got more money. She's less stressed. And I'm sorry that it was like that for you. But, you know, we have a connection that, you know, isn't going to be the same in terms of our experiences.
Yeah, exactly
it's
that.
going to be different. That's just part and parcel.
Yeah.
But in terms of me having another one now, my maternal cup
is empty.
I realised when I went to CBB Land.
Why did you go there?
Why did I go there? Good question. I went with my sister and her little boys.
Oh, well, I was going to ask you, have you got nieces and nephews?
So, yeah, I've got two nephews. So my sister's a boy mum. I'm a girl mum.
Yeah.
And they're the most precious, perfect little boys I've ever known and still are to this day. But when they were little toddlers, we went to CBB Land, and my sister's a single mum as well. So she said, can you come with me? She booked a hotel. She does so much for them, bless her. And I remember being in the lift and there was loads of kids and they were all screaming and blah, 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 and going off. And like, I'm there like, the mums are just carrying on talking.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, is no one going to, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, when did that start? Like, because as mums, you just drown it out, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas I was horrified and just was like, couldn't think straight.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm turned off to that.
And I am as well now.
Yeah.
But I remember taking my boys to see Baby's Land. So mine are 12 and 15. Well, Thomas will be 15 in a couple of months. Jack's 12, he'll be 13 this year. And I remember, because there's only 2.5 years difference between them, we sort of did that back when I was still married to their dad. And at the time, you know, we stayed at the Splash Landings Hotel and did all of that. And yeah, I just kind of think you're in it then. You're in it. So you just do it, going through the motions every single day. Whereas now, I've got a niece and a nephew. So my niece is coming up 7 and my nephew's 1. And I feel a lot more patient with them. But obviously don't spend that much time with them, do I? Because they're not with me 24/7.
Yeah.
So I feel that when I really do look forward to seeing them.
Yeah, I do as well, and I don't see them enough. Yeah, but could you have it full time? Like, could you go back and have a little one?
No, I wouldn't want to.
No.
But you know, when you said you meet, if you met someone, now my immediate reaction is to say no, but I'm
Yeah.
quite fickle. So like, if I did meet someone and I was head over heels in love with them,
Yeah.
I don't know if I could 100% say I wouldn't do it.
I think I've said the same.
Yeah.
I have said the same, but then I've also and this is going to sound really bad, I might regret saying this, but that person, they've got to have some money behind them. And I'm
Yeah.
talking like childcare covered, like, because I've just gone through so much shit
Yeah, I would
that
hate
I
to be
just,
left holding the baby,
yeah,
because me and the kid, my boy's dad, split up when they were well, it's been a good few years now, but they weren't babies when we split up, and I would hate to be left holding the baby on my own and then thinking I've got a whole future of this on my
yeah,
own, and that is what
financially,
would
yeah,
put me
as
off,
well.
because how much can you ever trust someone?
Mm,
How much can you ever trust that is going to be forever? I mean, don't get me wrong. If I met someone that was slightly younger, had got no children, and I was head over heels in love, and someone had a crystal ball, which this is never going to happen, to say you two are going to live happily ever after and you're going to raise a family, I probably would do it.
yeah.
But you're never going to get that guarantee that you're never going to be left on your own, and it would be me. It would be
Well,
me left doing it.
I think nowadays though there is a lot more men that, if they want kids, know that they have 50% responsibility and that they're seeing that through a lot more.
Mm.
Whereas when I split with my kid's dad, it was like, you're a single mom, that it's on you kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I said, a couple of years ago when I was connecting with other dads, a lot of them were doing 50% because they didn't want to pay child maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
So, and men have got more confidence around kids more. And
Mm.
that's always a good thing. But yeah, I can understand why you'd be, if you've gone through a divorce, then you're also, and the thought of
Yeah,
having another
that for
child.
me would be, just like, I would dread
Yeah.
to be on my own raising a baby.
Baby,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? If you can split the load, if you're in a loving relationship, that sounds amazing to me. But what's the reality? It is realistically now. I mean, I can't find a stable man. Do you know what I mean? That's the first fucking problem.
Oh, that was the point I was gonna make that I forgot. On Diary of the CEO, that was it. She was talking about just how people just aren't having kids anymore because everyone's struggling. Women are getting their eggs freezed by companies that are saying, "Don't worry, don't have kids yet. We'll freeze your eggs for you," and all this, and that's not guaranteeing them. And so they're just delaying it and delaying it. And I've got quite a few friends that have delayed it and delayed it. And yeah, that's just, people just aren't motivated to have kids
Yeah.
like they were.
And I think I've got a few friends that are, 40 this year like me, who haven't got kids and don't want them.
Yeah.
Fair play, if that's
Yeah.
what you want to do.
Yeah.
For me, I love being a mom. I'm very good at being a mom. I'm always had that maternal instinct and bond. And I feel like it's something I'm actually really good at. You know what I
Did you
mean?
always know that you'd be a good mom? Like, did you go through something as a child? Because I always felt like I was parent to my parents because of
Yes.
shit.
Yeah. No, see, my mum is your Aunt Bessie.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? She is, if there was an ideal
Really?
role model for a mom, it's my mom.
Oh,
Do you know, like,
that's lovely.
she's just been devoted to our family for her whole life. She stopped working when we were little, to look after and raise a family. Left a career. I mean, she went back doing, the odd jobs, cleaning or whatever, but it fitted around us. She cooks a Sunday dinner every single week without fail, and all of us go around there every Sunday. I mean, this weekend I'm going away with the boys and she's coming to mine to look after the dog. Do you know what I mean? Like, she is your
Did your
ultimate
mum
role
and dad
model.
stay together?
Yeah, they're still together now. So they got married in 81. So they've they've been married, what's that? 54 years? 44
Yeah.
years? It's a long time, isn't it? 44 years now. They've been married, so they've been together longer than that. Like, from a really young age. Yeah, so I think that may be where the maternal instinct and bond came from. I'm the only girl, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I just knew when I didn't know what to do, obviously, when I had my first baby, but I quickly learned, and then I feel like it would come back like that. Like if I look after my nephew, who's still a baby, really, he's 1, I know what to do
Yeah.
straight away.
Yeah.
So what about you then? Because I know that, like you just said, you were a parent to your parents.
Mm. I think that has a lot to do with the fact of why I wouldn't have any more, is because of how quickly I had to grow up as a kid. My mum and dad were just extremely problematic in our upbringing. You know, there was no money. We were in a rented tiny house. My dad, bless his heart, is an incredible man, but both mum and dad came from broken homes themselves, which back then was, you know, a big thing.
Yeah.
My dad's dad went back to Jamaica, so he lost his dad. My mum's dad died when I was just turning into teenage years. So I always think, because my mum died of alcoholism,
Mm,
so that was a massive thing that impacted my life.
mm,
But it's looking back of like how it went down for her, because now I'm 40,
mm.
I'm looking at her life, and it was around that time when she was 40 that things started to massively change for her, and I'm just filled with a lot of dread, and I'm having to address a lot of fears that I've
Yeah.
carried, and I'm unpacking now just before I turn 40. And I think she was turning 40, she got bankrupt
Yeah.
for her business. She was very much like me in the sense that she was quite creative, and she had a fashion
Mm.
label that she did for 10 years. You know, like the step aerobics,
Oh, yeah.
where like lycra,
Yes. Love
cycling
this.
shorts, thong,
Yeah.
bodice, and like the step aerobic classes. She did all those designs.
Brilliant.
I even think she went into like strippers outfits at
Mm.
one point. She was like, the profit margins are great.
Mm.
You buy this much material and sell them for so
Yeah.
much money because they're all high on cocaine. That
Yeah.
was me learning at like 12.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and she was this
So she was
incredible.
successful.
She was successful at doing things that she loved. She
Yeah.
didn't know how to make money, and she's very much like me as well. I love my job, but I haven't got a pot to piss in,
Yeah.
let's say. Um, but yeah, so she went bankrupt. She turned 40. I turned 18 the same time she turned 40, just like me and my daughter. She's turned 18
Yeah.
as I'm turning 40, and then her dad died. So it was almost like these three things that happened in such a short space.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I'm thinking, gosh, all those things happening during the years that you're going through perimenopausal symptoms. You're probably undiagnosed ADHD or bipolar, because back then those things weren't
Mm.
talked about.
Yeah.
So it's why I'm really like into talking, and why I'm really I just find it really important to just have conversation. Because to the day she died, she said, "I'm not an alcoholic."
Really?
Yeah, literally took her last breath, and she was in there for months, and the doctor told her a few times, "You're going to die if you don't stop drinking wine," and she
So she drank wine.
just wine.
Yeah. From when she got up, did she, or was it not?
Again, this is another thing that I just find really interesting with my mum, is because she didn't drink that much. Honestly, like I look at people on the streets and stuff, and like with the bottle of vodka and stuff, and I think it was to do with the sugar in wine, and the
Okay.
fact that she was menopausal. Potentially she maybe, I don't know if the doctor would have flagged up some diabetes with her or something, or
Mm.
I know she had IBS. I've got terrible
Mm.
allergies to sugar. You know, if I
Mm.
drink too much sugar, I'll um,
You
really
flare up.
it will get hard and painful on my
Mm.
stomach and things. And I just think, because the doctor would say you've got to stop drinking, she would avoid the doctors so much. So then other issues, and yeah, the sugar probably um, become as a big. I think sugar is a problem, in because it's an addictive thing as well, isn't
Mm.
it?
Yeah.
So if you mix that with alcohol,
Yeah.
um,
So she was drinking wine. When you say not that much,
so obviously I wasn't with her
all the time,
continuously
yeah.
all the time, and she would sneak it. So like
Ah.
those little mini bottles of wine
Yeah.
she'd have in a bag and take a swig
Okay.
just to stop her shakes.
Yeah.
Because she would get the shakes, but it was never more than like a bottle, or she wouldn't get through 2 bottles every night because she'd
Okay.
be she wouldn't function.
Yeah.
And she'd throw up and things like, so it wasn't a case of she could put lots away. She was never really a big drinker. So I think everyone's tolerance to alcohol is really different.
Mm.
And me and my friends, interestingly bought those breathalyzers.
Oh, yeah,
And we'd all go out on a night out and breathalyze ourselves, and we'd all drink the same thing, and we'd all be different the next day. We'd all process it differently.
Yeah. Because it matters like what you've eaten, how much you've drank, how quick you've drank, things like that, doesn't it? I mean, it's so funny that we're talking about this now because I counted the days this morning. I haven't had a drink for 84 days.
Wow.
I know. And I don't know why I counted the days this morning, but I went through the calendar and I was like, how long has it actually been? And it was 84 days.
Okay.
And I was like, God, that actually is like, seems to have just gone like that, you know? But I do like a drink, and I like wine, red wine for me, and beer, really. Those are my two. I can drink in the house like that, but I haven't. So I've felt better probably for it, to be honest. Like we said, we're 40 this year. I probably will celebrate for my birthday. I'm not going to completely. I don't think I am anyway. In my head, I'm thinking maybe I will have a drink with my mates. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I'm exactly the same now.
Yeah.
I think, you start to understand it a bit differently, don't you, as your body changes?
Yeah.
Like, is it worth it, really?
Yeah. So do you think you're parenting then with your girls? So I want to talk about parenting girls versus parenting boys because I've got no experience in parenting girls.
Have you got no nieces? Or?
Well, apart from my niece, and yes, she's very different, but then very similar in other ways.
How old is she?
She's 7.
Yeah.
So do you feel like see, I feel like if I was to have a baby and it was a girl, I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, I think if I had a boy, I'd feel the same. You do get stuck in your ways, and I don't know. I mean, I think parenting toddlers and parenting teenagers, for a start, is just a completely different operation.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have such a completely different mindset. So I know, I look at my sister, and obviously she's a boy mom, and she has the most loving affection from her, and I tended to have that with the girls. In fact, actually, I was wrestling with Ava yesterday, and she's strong. Like, my 18-year-old's 6 foot, and my 12-year-old's just tonk, like muscle.
Yeah.
And we wrestled because that was my dad's love language. He would play fight and wrestle with his daughters every single day. And when I do it with my daughters, I'm like, is this normal?
Yeah. I don't wrestle with my boys.
Can we normalise women wrestling with their girls? Like, I don't think I see that a lot, but it should be normal, shouldn't it? My dad did it with me. He made sure like I knew how to fight and get out of a wrestle and stuff. So it was his love language. So it's how he was affectionate with us, tickling us, wrestling. So I've always done it with the girls. So they can be boisterous, I suppose, but not as much as boys, because my sister, they're just bouncing off.
Well, mine, when I was just thinking then, they wrestle each other. So I'm just out of it.
You're out of it.
And I'm normally like shouting at them, like, and if I've got my windows open, my neighbours can hear me and that. But I'm very much like a motherer, like in terms of like, so I would, with us, see like, they'll come in from school today and I'm just that provider, do you know what I mean? So I'll probably do them like a bowl of fruit when they come in, like, and it's
Bessie.
Oh yeah, this is like, and they're like, oh, and it looks really nice. And then I'll cook them a nice dinner. You know, Jack will go boxing tonight. Tom's did say he's going to go to the gym tonight as well, but he does more the gym than actually like boxing, but he does play rugby. So, and it'll be that's my thing. It's like providing like the food. Yeah. You know, and like,
or the slow down.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. It's getting too far.
Yeah.
Have you got like a safe word? Are you going to get a safe word in?
Normally
Like...
just tell them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm very raw in my house. Like, I don't,
Like it.
yeah, I'm a very much like,
Yeah.
we all swear, even the kids swear. And I always just think, well, it is what it is. You know,
Yeah.
they're not shielded from anything.
Mm.
I'm very much open with them about things that go on in the world, even things that some kids who are their age don't know about. My kids have just always known what goes on. And I think that's probably like 20 years working within a police environment,
Yeah.
seeing what goes on in the world. It filters down. So, like, you know,
Yeah.
they know stuff. They know even demographics of what people look like.
Right.
Do you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean, like?
Well, let's just say, like, if I mentioned on a couple of episodes ago, there was a woman that tried to sell me some makeup next to the car. And, like, when she walked off, they were like, is she on drugs, Mum? They could tell from the way she walked, the way she presented herself, that she was obviously selling makeup to make money for drugs.
Yeah.
They've known that from a very, very young age.
Yeah.
But if they saw like an old bloke walking towards us that fits a sex offender demographic, they'd know.
Really?
But they wouldn't call him a sex offender, they'd call him something else.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's because they know the demographic. That's just how I've brought them up.
Yeah.
But that's
I never
because
shielded anything from mine. I always would. And like when their nanny died, I would say, what did nanny die of? Alcoholism. You know, it was very much because to me, taboo topics are what killed her really, because to the day she died, she said, I'm not an alcoholic, because she was embarrassed, not because she didn't have enough people around her, like sadly the drug addicts that walk the street. She had people. She had support that she could have reached out to. It was the fact that it's a taboo topic and she had too much shame. When you have shame, the only way to get rid of that shame is to make it a less taboo topic. So when people ask me, what did your mum die of? I used to, like a few days after, I'm really sorry, and I'd say it was alcoholism. You could tell there was an uncomfortableness that was created because of that, and I'm like, that's the uncomfortableness that continues to allow this shame that allowed her to die. So I think it really is important to be able to raise, well, I suppose they're like deviant topics, aren't they? The deviant.
They are taboo subjects, and this is the thing.
Yeah.
This is it reminds me of a Spin Justice of the Week that I'll come on to. But people are scared to talk about things, and that's what's got to change, isn't it? You know, it's like, but I'll come on to something in a bit that it's not. I think a lot of people do want to talk about it, but there's other issues in the background. But before we come on to that, you are a sign language interpreter, aren't you? Is that your main job?
Yeah.
So how does that work for you, and how did you get into that?
So everyone always asks that, and it's always the most random answer because I don't know. I just followed my gut. And if my mum has given me one thing,
Yeah.
she gave me a lot of shit. She gave me the ability to really know myself and know what I will enjoy. And I remember I used to do like promo modelling and like giving out freebies and stuff. And I remember being at Crufts one day. Crufts has just gone. Someone asked me if I wanted to go. I was like, hell no.
Yeah, it was
Dog
last weekend,
people
wasn't
are
it?
mental. And I was working on a Samsung stand with these Korean guys that literally said, stand in that spot. Now, the only reason I did promo work at the NEC is because I got to walk around all day and just connect with people and talk to people all day. So telling me to stand in that spot was just so painful. And later realising I've probably got ADHD. But I was pregnant at the time, and I had all these people coming up to me saying, do these people eat dog? Because Samsung is Korean and they're renowned for eating dogs. So I was just like, I need to do a proper job. I can't raise this child. And as a dyslexic person, I would say I'm a visual thinker. So I could never learn German or Spanish or French at school. I was really crap. But communication is my thing. It's why I want to be a podcast host. I love connecting. I love talking. but learning a language just wasn't it. So when I saw someone signing, I just was, oh, that could be a job. Could I do that? Maybe. So Googled, asked a friend, then looked into the university route, because if you're a mom, to me, going to university is a really good option, just because you've got that downtime where you've got to be still. You can't be here, there, and everywhere when you're a mom. So studying for me, and because I was a single mom as well, probably. So it just made sense for me. And yeah, never look back. I absolutely adore my job.
And do you do it, is it every day, or is it sort of like, yeah.
So there's a massive shortage of interpreters now, because it wasn't till after COVID, where all the deaf community who hadn't got any access to the announcements from the government,
Right.
they basically sued the government and just said this was a joke.
Yeah.
Everywhere's putting live interpreters next to the prime ministers, but you're not. And it was really bad and stuff, because it was a linguistically recognized language, i.e. it's got a grammar, it's a legal linguistic language.
Yeah.
Whereas before, centuries ago, they banned sign language.
What?
Yeah, it wasn't, you used to get the cane. I know, I still interpret for people that tell me they got the cane for signing at school.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
That really actually has made me feel
People think because they
sad.
see it around now that, oh, it's always been there, but they don't know the history. So when I went to uni and I just decided randomly to do this job, I was like, there's history, there's culture, there's human rights. I'm like, this is my jam.
Yeah.
This is my jam. So so like you'll get books. I'm freelance and I basically get emails.
Yeah.
Can you do this job? Can you put this in your diary? And my diary just gets booked up now, because there's a massive shortage.
Do you have to travel much?
Not since, so after COVID, in the remote world, a lot of more remote interpreting came about.
Yeah.
And you used to have to be really qualified to do remote interpreting, but since obviously lockdown, everyone's had to kind of like
Adapt.
up the game, adapt. So there's a lot of remote work. I work in universities, work in doctors, surgeries, hospitals, a lot of conferences, a lot of webinars, anything that is public information available to the public is legally meant to be signed.
Right. Okay.
Now,
so you're not short of work then now.
No, yeah.
And remote working obviously works for your family life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, and this is, I mean, the job I'm doing at the minute, or the work I'm doing at the minute, aside from the podcasting and the spinning, is very, very flexible and suits my home life. It means I can generally, most days, be there every morning for the boys, be there every evening for the boys. Back when I was working shifts, God, it was horrendous. So I feel like I'm in a very, very lucky position to do that now. But God, there's been times, and I don't know if you've ever felt this, especially pre-COVID, before the remote work came in, with guilt, mum guilt. Do you ever get it? I remember
For
working or anything, because sometimes I'd put off social plans because I'd been working too much. So I probably really needed that social event, but I would say no to it because I'd been on a 6-on shift pattern, which meant that I wouldn't have seen the kids. But I probably really needed that, and that break would have made me a better mom. But I probably would have said no to it because of the guilt.
I think you've just now hit the nail on the head now. That break would have made me a better mom.
Yeah.
And I think it's not, and this is again why my podcast is called Inadequate Mother, it's not wrong, or it shouldn't be shameful to resent your kids for you putting them first, even though you know that you're going to be a better mom for having the thing that you needed. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is, if you knew you were going to be a better mom because you took that break, you're thinking with an adult head, with a bigger, more insightful outlook on life. So you shouldn't feel guilty for that, because you know yourself better. But unfortunately, we succumb to the moment, and that oh no, okay, I'll stay here, even though you don't, and then what happens is you start resenting the feeling that you've got because
Yeah.
you reacted in the moment instead of using your wise old head and going, I know you want to see me now, but honestly, I'm going to be more present if I just take this break. And
Yeah.
that's what it is. You're being present and there's being present.
Yeah, exactly that. And back when the kids were younger, I didn't have that wise head.
Mm.
Now,
Mm.
yeah, absolutely. I would think to myself, I've got a weekend probably, I've got lots of weekends away planned throughout the year with friends or sometimes with the kids as well, sometimes without the kids. But I suppose over the years, they've spent time, now that me and their dad are not together, they've spent time away from me. So it's a lot more normal for us now. And I feel like when they're with their dad for a weekend, I do get that break. But that doesn't mean to say that when they're with me, that I still need a break.
Yeah.
You can't time when you need a break. Sometimes they might be with me for a full weekend where that is supposed to be our quality time. But I might have had a really stressful and hectic, horrible week, and I might need a break that weekend, and that's fine. And I can see that now. But years ago, I would really give myself a hard time. The guilt was, I used to really feel it.
But do you think that's because you had this Aunt Bessie mom?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I think we do have these perceptions of what makes us a good mom. And the reality is we just need to be a really healthy,
Exactly that.
happy woman.
Yeah. I remember going on, I think I talked to you about it on yours. I did. I spoke to you about it on your podcast about going through the courts. And I went on a parenting course. We were both ordered through the courts to go on a parenting course. And one of the things that they said or asked everybody on the course, what do you do to make you feel good? And I said, when I'm not with the kids, I go to the gym. And they were like, straight away, you haven't got to wait until you're not with the kids. I mean, I know for some people, they might need a childcare provider to do that. Whereas mine are older now, I can leave them in bed. But if I want to do something, I don't have to. And I feel that has just come with an age thing anyway, But I remember them saying, you don't have to wait until you don't have to factor it in. Because maybe when you're not with the kids, you might not feel like going to the gym. And I really learned a lot from that. But I think just I've become a better version anyway in time. But
when they get older and you have that more free time and you can leave them for an hour or something and go to the gym, it's changes the game.
It does. A real game changer.
Then you don't have to plan as much. But if you needed, my heart really goes out to single moms that have really small kids, maybe that have quite clingy. And this episode on Diary of the CEO, it really put things into perspective in terms of like the emotional development of a child in the early years when they're attached to the mom, and how important it is for their emotional resilience. But we are just simply operating in a society that is inadequate. It's not mothers that are inadequate. It's a balance and a compensation continuously of like what we know they need to what we need to be able to function in something that's very broken. And you're constantly picking. So it's like this society exists. It's not functioning really in a way that's healthy. I've got to stay healthy in this very broken society. So how do I do that? Well, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. But then my kids need that. And then you kind of always choosing. And I think that's, I mean, hopefully society will change, but it's unlikely.
This is the
like,
thing, you see, we're
capitalist, not just shit. So,
and I think as well, with my mum was very like we say, like an Aunt Bessie mum, and she was just real motherly. But I think the times have changed in terms of how and what the boys talk to me about, all sorts of stuff that I never would have spoke to my mum about. Do you know what I mean? Like they can say anything to me, and I've got something in my eye, and they know that I'm probably going to take the piss. Like if they needed me to be serious, I would be serious. But like a
I
few
think
weeks.
that's a boy mum thing though.
I
like,
don't know,
taking
because a
the piss.
few weeks ago, well, no, sorry, a few months ago, Thomas was going to a party. Bearing in mind, he's 14. And his dad came to drop him off. So his dad came over to mine and was stood in the hallway, and he's come down the stairs. And obviously he's like, you know, he's looking nice. He's got a bit of aftershave on and that. And he's like, tapped his pockets. He's like, oh, I've got everything. Obviously, phone, that's all you need, ain't it? And I was like, you got some Johnnies? Like, and his dad was like, oh, don't say that. And I was like, it's a joke. Like, it's just a joke. Like, we had a laugh about it, and that was it.
Yeah.
But that's just the way I am.
All my
with them.
friends are like that with their sons. My best friend's got a son, and yeah, they're very close.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if it's a single parent thing, but you just end up having this kind of friendship vibe with your child. And it's one thing I've been really conscious of, because I was a child of a single mom, and she would parent me like a friend.
Yeah.
It was like absolutely fabulous in my house.
Oh,
where
I
I'm
love
going,
that.
Mother, stop it.
Yeah.
And then it's just literally become my life, where my daughter's like, Mum, stop it.
But I love
Mother,
that.
stop it. But then when you need that discipline, and you need that respect, and you need that, like,
Yes.
do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Like, it can be really.
Yeah, I do think I have got
problematic,
that.
yeah.
You know, I only have to look at them. They know when they've pushed the boundary.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I can laugh and joke like that, they know who's boss, and they know that I only have to give them a look, and they know they've gone too far. But that's not very often. I think we've got a good balance, you know, like I feel like we are quite.
That's probably, again, a big difference with boys
Boys.
and girl mom, because the balance, there's not a power balance going on, whereas women, and this is, me, my mom, my sister all live together. I'm now living with me, my daughters.
Yeah.
There's a power dynamic that exists within women. And I
Oh.
don't know why we are like this. Maybe we're innately wound to compete, to try and, get a good mate or whatever. But, women are very competitive by nature. They're very jealous of other women. And that's why we've just had International Women's Day. I couldn't believe yesterday the bitchiness that I was seeing around me. I don't know if because of the weekend we're all like, women, women, women. Yeah, I was in the salon, and these women, I was getting my eyelashes done, and my eyes were shut, and these women were just like bitching, and my eyes were shut, and I really wanted to open them to, like,
What were they
give them a
bitching
dagger
about?
and go, do you not know it was just International Women's Day?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. Side note. So I really digress. But yeah, with girls, I think it's just they're constantly challenging me because I'm a woman. And I just think that is.
You've got a point there.
When you have
Yeah.
teenage girls and their mum, and, we all know that it can be very confrontational. And it's to do with this power dynamic, and when that man's not there as well to kind of balance the dynamic out and just be like, hold on, enough's enough.
Yeah.
It can really escalate. And respect is something that's extremely valuable to me,
Yeah.
but it's obviously something that's earned, and if you're acting a bit psychotic, they're not going to respect you. So it can be really a vicious circle, and it's one that I've climbed out of, feeling like a complete and utter failure.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Like, I was just thinking when you said that about the respect and how it's earned, and how I portray myself to my boys. They know I can have a laugh and a joke. They know I love the bants. But you see that bowl of fruit that's there when they come in, and the dinner's cooked for them. And I tell you what, like, they'll go to their dads and they'll come back, and while they've been away, I've stripped the beds, remade the beds, so it's all nice for when they get home. Because I think, it's lovely, isn't it, when you get back and you've got a nice fresh bed, and like the ironing's placed on their bed.
I used to do all that. I don't do any of that now.
But I still do that. But that actually means that I don't really have a life, because that is, and I actually think I need to start living a little bit more. In terms of, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got a good circle of friends, and I've got a good social support network around me. But because of the amount I'm doing in terms of work, I don't really have much time to socialise anymore. And if I do, I'm too tired to do it.
I think as well, what you need to remember is that you're doing too much for your kids. It's just, And I don't want to say this word entitled, because I think it's getting thrown around a lot at our youngsters at the moment. I think they're getting a real hard time where they're like, they're so entitled, because in all honesty, who would be motivated to work in this economy that's not going to serve them, and they're not going to get a house or whatever? So that's a separate conversation. But in terms of teenagers and their attitude towards you as a mom,
Yeah.
you don't want them to feel like they're entitled to have everything laundered and clean for them and
I
done
know.
for,
Yeah.
because all that will happen is they'll grow up thinking they're entitled to health and happiness. And I'm having these conversations with my girls, and they're like, oh, I'm down, I'm not motivated. And I'm like, no, you've eaten crap and you're on a sugar rush.
Yeah.
You've been staring at your phone.
Yeah.
And you've just consumed too much social media, so you've got a headache. You've not cleaned your room, so I think this kind of air of, I'm entitled to happiness, or
Yeah.
I'm entitled to health, and if I'm not healthy and if I'm not happy, instead of looking for the reasons why, they'll just go, I've been hit with the depression stick, or
Yeah.
I've been hit with the
Anxiety.
violins of, I'm not happy because the world isn't serving me in a way
Yeah.
that
And
makes
that is
me happy.
exactly so right, because I'm doing what my mum did for me, and she still does for my dad. Like, she cooks the dinner, she does the ironing. Do you know what I mean? She still does that, and there's
And
only
if she
the two of them
didn't
that
do
live there.
would your dad struggle?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But I think my boys, I would hate to think that they would expect that from a partner. And I really would, but they probably will. But I really would hate that. I want them to be independent, but I just feel like, because that's what my mum's done for me. And I think, there's no place like home. So I make that a really nice, loving, safe place for them, because I think, and don't get me wrong, the dad don't do it for them. But I know, and it's no disrespect to Tom, because, I know he sometimes does listen to this, but it's no disrespect. He doesn't do it for them, but I know that they're always glad to come home, because they know they're coming into a fresh bed.
They're glad to come home because of you.
Yes.
Not because of what you do for them.
Yeah, and I am getting them. In fact, I've really started getting them to do more around the house. So, like, I've stopped doing things to say, right, you can vacuum, you can wash up, and then
it's my biggest mistake. I watch my sister. My sister's been really good with that. And her little boys, I'll put the bins out, they'll do this, and it's like a game for them, and they're both tag team, and they're brilliant. But my kids, I did not, because you choose your battles, don't you?
Exactly that.
You can't get it all right. And I was just like, I haven't got it in me to nag them to do this, so I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah.
And also when it came to, this was my excuse, because we justify our little inadequacies, don't we? But when my oldest was very creative, and she would just go create, and she's got the most brilliant mind. And if I'd have been one of them mums that are like, don't spill that, don't do this, you've marked that, like the carpets, and luckily I've only lived in rentals, so I didn't really care, but they were just always filthy. But I was just like, she's just such a brilliant mind, and she's smashing it in her school career now. And I just let the creativity go, and I didn't mind her about the mess as much.
Yeah.
And I just made that choice.
Yeah.
Where I wasn't going to be overly proud of that home, because I wanted them to have that freedom to create.
Yeah, which is great, because I am very much like an OCD clean freak.
Yeah.
And
my youngest is as well.
Don't get me wrong, like, they are, that they've got a happy life, but when they were little, I used to freak out with things like paint and Play-Doh. And
it's hard.
Yeah, I used to really, because I used to think, I've just spent all morning cleaning, and now it's gonna, and I used to get really stressed about it, which I think
just having an area and letting their room be their room.
Yeah, which they have now, and they've got their own space, and I've really got into a good mindset of shutting the bedroom doors and saying, right, you need to clean that. Yeah, I'm not doing that. And they do it now. But I wanted to ask you, that's what I wanted to ask you about, relationships when you are a single parent.
So dating?
Yeah. I don't date. I just don't, because one, I
you
haven't got
tried?
time. I have tried, and I've had a relationship since my marriage.
But on the apps and stuff, have you like connected or reached, or how much use on the? Because that's the only way to kind of
No,
people tend to do it.
I went on Tinder, God, years ago, when me and Tom first split up. God, so we're talking probably about 2018.
Yeah.
So a long time ago. And I just found it like really draining and hard work.
Yeah.
So that is not for me, and I don't feel like I could do that. Perfectly for me would be to meet someone in the gym.
Yeah.
But that's unlikely to happen. Because I'm either teaching, I'm there every day, I'm in the gym every day, you know. But aside from that, I feel like I've got this. I don't want to let anyone in.
I think you just, if you're not connecting with people and not having, I mean, we're in a hookup culture now, really, in terms of what people are out there doing. And I used to say to my friends, it's like a scattergun. You just go, and you're going to hit one that's going to want a relationship and be suitable.
Right.
And that literally is it. And I think I just saw it as my adult interaction time. Like, I'm very straight up person. I feel like you are, and you'd be
I am.
brilliant to like know if that's the person you want to continue to get to know or not. You know, and I just think just not take it so seriously, and just, it's not about letting people, you've got to protect yourself until.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a real problem for me, I think, because I, first of all, haven't really got time on my side or energy. So if I did have a spare evening, it's really few and far between to spend time with someone.
Talking on the phone. Would you
Or-
not like?
or-
Would you not like spend a couple hours texting and talking and?
Can't be asked.
You literally gonna do a business talking, babes. You're very good at it.
It drains my social battery though, so I don't
so
want to do it then when I go home. I've talked
She
too
needs to
much.
stop podcasting, Carl.
Yeah.
She's got to stop.
And don't forget, I'm in the gym. Yeah, Carl's told me from the beginning, no men, because we've got a plan here. This is a business, and you're not allowed, because it will distract you from what we're trying to do.
I think you might have a point, and I think, yeah, now I'm in a situation myself with working out whether I'm going to continue my relationship and stuff. And I adore him, but there's living together.
And this is what I was getting at. This is exactly the point I was coming to.
I don't even want to live with my kids.
Yes.
Why would I expect?
And that's
a
the
man?
thing. And when I say I'm protecting, I've got a barrier up, I'm protecting myself, I'm protecting them.
Yeah.
Because I can't picture another man living with us.
Yeah. Again, I'm like in the same situation, and there's only so much. I know I've done long distance, so that was a saviour for me. So maybe go on holiday a few times.
Can't be asked. This is the thing.
I did long distance, and it was 5 years of absolute intense love with
Where
a
did
South
they live?
Carolinian cowboy that I met in Jamaica. I was engaged to him, and I flew over to America every 6 weeks.
Did he come over here?
That's why I moved I moved onto the doorstep of my ex and his new wife and new family so that I could get a week off and that he could have the kids in his house for the full week rather than just the weekend.
Yeah.
And so I've moved from Birmingham to Wolverhampton for that fact. And one of the reasons was because of this relationship I was in. And I love traveling, and that's why I started vlogging and social media. I wanted to share that. And I was just going through a massive healing time where I went to church as well, and South Carolina's really Bible belt. So I joined a church. So I was having a real spiritual journey.
Yeah.
With someone that really knew how to talk, really knew how to get into me and stuff, and it didn't matter that we lived apart. So I think it really depends on the person, because that if you can emotionally connect with someone in an instant, like your energies, and Google twin flames as well. Anyone out there, Google twin flames.
I will.
Twin flames an experience. But yeah,
Because I find that I don't fancy many people. That sounds horrible, but
I completely relate.
I don't fancy many people. It's very, very rare that I'd look at someone and think fit.
Because
Very
you're
rare.
mentally and emotionally stimulated. You're
Yeah.
so like me in terms of ADHD.
So,
That's what they say.
but then I think I'm unlikely to, because I think I've got to have that physical attraction to them. And I have been out with people that I haven't had an instant physical attraction to. I've got to know them and I've sort of fell in love with them as a person. But I think there's not many people that I look at and think, yeah, you're fit. And that's what I'm looking for. But no one really catches, no one really catches my eye, ever.
I think, yeah, I'm a bit the same. I'm not wired that way, and I never have been. If I don't, because you could look at someone and they're fit, and then they open their mouth and you're like,
yeah,
no.
Talked about this on the on Russell's episode, Talking Tradesmen Who You Know, and I've said to them, I've been out with some drop dead gorgeous people, but dull as dishwater. Yeah. So you've got to have it all. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. And Jesus, we'd be here all day talking about that. But anyway.
You just got to scattergun it, babes.
Scattergun it. Yeah, okay.
And just use it as your, like, research, like your podcast, you know. You're just researching people.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
You're connecting with people.
Yeah.
You're going to...
Eventually one of them will.
No, but I think if I'm someone that's an extrovert like yourself, extrovert or introvert, whatever, but I'm someone that learns about myself inwardly by connecting with people. So how I interact with people teaches me about me. So that's how I used to see it. It wasn't necessarily about me learning about someone. Are you suitable for me? I was on a journey and I needed people, and I wasn't ashamed of that. And when people were like, just be on your own, Hayley, you need time, you know, focus on the kids. I'm growing up as well. I was young. I was 20 years old. I've been through a lot of abuse, a lot of trauma. I had shit to learn. Yeah. And I needed people to do that. I'm not going to sit and read books. I'm not a meditator. I can't sit still. I needed people. So that's your dating. It really can just be like that.
Definitely, because I know who I am. I'm very content with myself. I'm always on my own. I like being on my own, but I do kind of feel like, I don't know, am I missing something there? I'm not sure. If it's in my mind, I feel like if it's there, it must be there. If I'm thinking it, I must be feeling it. Because
and again, it might not be that you need someone. You just need there's some parts of you want to uncover. Yeah, and you need someone to do that.
Yeah, potentially.
And it might be a hard thing. It might be a really heartbreaking thing. So if I think back at the times where I've like a guy's rejected me, or like. And I've been like crying ridiculously down the phone to my sister. And she's like, that guy was an idiot. What's wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know.
Yes.
He's not worthy of these tears, because it's something that's going on within us. And the more we unlock this stuff, the more we learn about ourselves. So it's not that you're sad about this guy that's rejected you. It's, you know, it's about how you feel and like controlling how you feel about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Right, Spin Justice of the Week. Have you got one?
Spin Justice, like an
injustice.
Injustice. I think for me, I mean, I don't know if this... I'm trying to buy a house.
Oh, yes. Oh, I've been looking at your stories about this. Have you found one?
So it's just a situation like... Obviously, I don't earn bad money. No. You know, I've got a good... income, a good job, but because I'm a single parent and single household, income household, it's really hard to get a decent mortgage to buy a house. Yeah, They're so expensive. My dad told me how much he paid for his house, like 35 grand.
Do you know how much my mum and dad
threw up in my cup? I was like,
do you know how much my mum and dad paid for their house? You ain't gonna believe this. 8 grand.
Oh, it just makes me want to go.
Doesn't it make you sick? Oh, bearing in mind they married in 81. Yeah. They bought their house for 8 grand. Yeah. Like, but obviously that then was the equivalent of what we're paying now. Yeah. You know, that was what the price was. Yeah.
And what I'm I suppose it's not an injustice, it's just something I'm really pissed off about at the minute. Because the economy's on its bloody knees and there's a cost of living crisis going on, most people, especially single mums, will have a top up from, you know, universal credits. Yeah. even married couples will have a top up because we're not earning enough to live. So whereas I've spent the last, 6 years of my career trying to earn as much money as I can, do all my books great, make the tax man happy, pay all my tax, get that universal credit low.
Yeah.
And then now the mortgage advisors are going, oh, it's a shame you haven't got universal credit. more of that, because that's a really stable income now.
But
it's considered more stable than your bloody salary.
It is, but what you've got to think as well is your youngest is 12, same as my youngest. Yeah. So I've just remortgaged. Well, I've just bought all of my house because, I staircased mine. So I bought a percentage and now I own it all. But it's taken me a long time, 11 years. So now I've got the mortgage on my own. But when you're relying on things like that, if you think about it, it's only until because in 6 years, our youngest will be adults.
Yeah, my oldest, when she's obviously going to uni. Oh, this is the injustice. In fact, scrap all that.
No, have
just
to.
In case
just
I have
have
to. A really dodgy mortgage. I don't want the taxman coming after me. Mm-hmm. This is the injustice I want to talk about. Because my daughter sent me a TikTok of Lewis, what's the money expert guy?
Martin Lewis.
And he was talking about how girls have had to drop out of uni because their mum has let their boyfriend move in with them. So this just ties on to what we were talking about of how crap and injustice this is and how the system is really bad.
Right, so because the parents have got someone living with them, it reduces
their income, so they can't afford to go to uni and stay at uni because mum's decided to move their boyfriend in. So basically, if I did have my boyfriend move in with me, I'd have to say, contribute to my 18-year-old's education, or obviously that wouldn't happen. She's got a dad, but that's a system that's really not fair.
No.
And the situation in terms of financial things changing when your kids move out, and I think it's not fair. And I think and even married couples now, I always wonder why marriage and togetherness isn't encouraged, because financially I got so much more support with my childcare and stuff. I think it's changing now where married couples are getting more childcare paid for.
Okay.
I think.
Don't know. But
again, it's almost like the government just wanted us all to be single parents, because financially the systems don't work. And that's just one example of one, I suppose.
Yeah. Mine's on the taboo subjects we touched on. So your podcast is about, inadequate mother. You talk a lot about parenting in all different aspects, whether it,
Society,
really. Yeah. With me, I want to talk about some really taboo subjects, but the algorithm and the powers that be don't like it.
Really?
Yeah. And there's a thing, and I was thinking about it when I was getting ready today. I've spoken to Carl and Lois, Carl's missus, this week about it, and I've had marketing meetings this week. I've got help now from because I think it's taken me a while to realise it's a lot to run on my own. So I've been, I've got someone helping me with admin. I've got someone helping me with marketing. Carl and Lois help me with the editing and all of that. So we're building a bit of a team here. But there's actually an episode that will be out by the time yours comes out that it talks very much about subjects that are hushed. And the algorithm can work against you, because there's certain topics that the platforms won't allow you to talk about.
Podcasting though, or just YouTube? Because
both.
I think the two are different.
Yeah.
I know there's a list of words I got sent from YouTube that I can try and dig out for you, because they'll be interesting to see. I've not read them myself. But...
Yeah, send them to me, because the thing is, even if someone told me I couldn't talk about it, that just pissed me off even more. And I'd think, why? Why are you trying to shut me up on something that needs talking about? Do you know what I mean? So that's my gripe this week, because so it's basically you can build a brand here in podcasting as long as you stick to what we want you to talk about. Fuck off. Absolutely not. I kind of feel like there's things that are injustices in the world, but just because it's a taboo subject, we can't talk about it.
Yeah.
But surely that's even more reason to talk about it.
I know.
So it's proper pissed me off this week, because when I'm having, like, I've had a couple of marketing meetings this week, and they're saying, you'll be shadow banned for this and you'll be suppressed for this.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, that's just fucking winding me up even more. I'm really getting on my high horse about it, because I'm like, and even in a
Can you
meeting.
say what they are? I want to know now.
Yeah, I'll tell you after. Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
You don't want to ruin this episode as well.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Do the sign for it.
Yeah. Things like COVID, even like talking about COVID,
sign.
things like 5G, things about, you know, well, these are like the governmental cover-ups. Yeah. They don't want you to talk about it.
I think because the aftermath that happened was when people just get carried away.
Yeah.
People aren't. We're not a very clever species, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that's been my. But there was a meeting earlier on in the week, and someone was like saying, "Oh, you need to do this and you need to do this." And I was like, "No, you don't get it. I ain't doing that. I'm not conforming." If for a sponsor, for example, if a sponsor said to me, "Oh, I'm going to sponsor your podcast," but it means that I don't want you to talk about X, Y, and Z, I'd say no, thanks. No, you ain't telling me what I'm talking about. It ain't happening. I don't want to.
Do you think that's going to happen though? Really?
Well, I mean, there was a bit of controversy, and he has actually spoken out about it. But I saw something in the news that Stormzy had put a lot of stuff on his, I don't know if it's Instagram or something. There was a lot of support for Gaza and Israel, right? And then taken on a sponsorship deal with McDonald's, and now all of a sudden all the content's gone. And there was a big hoo-ha about it, but he did release something that sort of maybe, but straight away I thought I'd never fucking do that. If someone wanted to sponsor me for millions but told me, but you've got to toe the line and say X, Y, and Z, I'm already toeing the line to a degree because of my job that I'm doing outside of this. Yeah. So there's already stuff that I'm like not talking about just yet, but it's pissed me off, man, because I'm like, you should be able to talk about what you want.
Yeah, share perspectives. I think we all need to learn how to be able to listen to somebody, because with myself, like a lot of what I say, people will go, well, the deaf community is going to misunderstand that because of the communication of English and, you know, sign language, and there can be a lot of breakdowns. And it's like, well, we need to adapt. We need to learn to know how to think broadly in terms of that could be right, that could be wrong. Just because she said it doesn't mean it's truth.
Yeah.
That's her feeling. And just because someone said one thing from a community doesn't mean that the whole community thinks that thing, because sometimes it's the loudest voice that we go, oh, they think, and we do that with the deaf community all the time. Like a few really loud, influential people will say something, and then everyone in the hearing community says, oh, the deaf community feel like this, don't they? I'm like,
no, they don't.
How do you know that? That's just one person.
Yeah.
So again, we need to adapt that broad perspective where we're like, that person has said it.
Yeah.
That person doesn't form the whole.
Yeah.
And
I don't know about you, but I speak to a lot of people these days, because obviously I'm building quite a big network of people that I'm dipping in and out to, whether it be through Spin, whether it be through the podcast, my other line of work, parents.
I've not managed to do that with guests.
I feel like I've got.
How are you getting so many guests?
I don't know. Just people either message me or I message them, and I can only say no. Or then.
But where do you go to find them when you want to message?
Mainly
them?
Instagram.
Yeah.
Or through word of mouth.
Because they're all local, aren't they? Really, or some come.
Some have come. The farming episode, he came up from Devon. I spoke to someone the other day. He's in London, and he's like, "I will come up and I will do an episode with you." He's a really important one to touch on, because I look up to him. However, he said some things that I didn't agree with, and I think when I come off the phone, I was like, "Yes, you are an inspiration because you're a millionaire and you've built a really successful business, but that doesn't. You don't have to agree with everything that people say, and it's fine to agree with some things and not other things."
It's definitely a skill. I interviewed a couple American people the other day, and I come off and text my editor going, oh my God, that was awful. I was literally struggling with PTSD because of the conversation. I was like, they didn't like me. I couldn't connect with them. And I just think, I don't know if it was a culture thing, but I just think people that have been doing podcasting for a long time
Mm.
and have got something very obvious to sell, they have these pre-recorded responses.
Yeah.
And you, as someone that just wants to sit down, have a little
Chat,
a
yeah.
little chat, like connect
Mm.
and, you know, see how the conversation goes. They don't, that's not how they're there to operate.
Right.
So whereas I was like, oh, so how you, like, who are you? Like, you know me, I'll know you, we'll just chat.
Yeah.
It was like,
They need more
they
structure.
were just like silence, and then you ask them a question, and then they literally press a recording button in their whatever, and they respond with this, like, this is what I think, blah 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 blah. This is what I
Ah.
sell, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. I really struggled.
Yeah. I'm more of an authentic kind of
Oh.
have to just click with someone.
So everyone's different,
Mm. And it's fine, isn't it? Not to, you can like something about someone and not like other things about someone, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think if you say, if they, mainly people are coming on, aren't they, to sell things or promote themselves in a way.
Mm.
But your guests, I think, are quite genuine in the fact that they're just coming on to be themselves.
Yeah,
and have
that's
a
what I
chat.
want.
And that's probably,
Yeah.
you got to stay authentic to that, because
Yeah.
there's this podcasting life and these themes that come out, and it will become obvious that
Yeah.
that's all it is, and people will just be like, I don't want to listen to that.
Yeah, I've been told this week I've got to have like an air of mystique and that not be so available to people and stuff like that. And I do get that to a degree, but at the same time, yeah, I think
What,
that's
within your
fucking arrogant.
conversation?
Yeah, like just not be so available to people and not respond straight away to people. I'm thinking, but that it
What do
pisses
you
me.
mean not
Yeah,
respond?
that's just some sort of like advice I've had this week,
Like
and I'm like,
pause,
what do you mean?
like pause instead of like respond.
Yeah, or just have, well, I think it was described as an air of mystique. I'm the brand and I'm this and I'm that. And I'm like, fuck off. I'm just a normal person. Just having a chat. Like,
I don't think.
if someone
I
messages
know.
me, I'm messaging them back. Like,
Oh yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, I will do what I see fit. I've got my
Yeah.
head screwed on. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to wait a certain
That's
amount of time.
because you're building a community. You believe in community. It's the sad truth, and this is why Inadequate Mother is about the inadequate society. The one thing about mothering, and this is obviously, it's coming out on Mother's Day.
This will come out before Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Only like about a week before.
So for me, if there's one thing I've learned, is that the one thing lacking is community. And no mothers were supposed to feel alone, and even married mothers, not just solo single mothers. Like we're all operating in such a isolated way within our homes. We've gone from kings and queens and farmlands into industrial cities where we're governed by governments instead of kings and queens, and now we're being pushed into our homes working remotely, and we're being governed by social media, and we're just becoming more communities becoming less and less and less,
Yeah.
and we're more disconnected than ever from one another, and community's been sold back to us in the fact that we're all trying to build our little communities and then make it a product. But you're doing it from the space of a mother that wants community connection sincerely.
Yeah.
You don't just want to be a mysterious label that people are going to buy. You
No.
genuinely want to make community, and this podcast is going to be free.
Yeah.
So I think
And
it's
that's
different.
It feeds perfectly into my shout out, because I was walking the dog this morning and just good as gold, there was just some members of the community litter picking over by me, and I was looking at them and I was just like, if I will help you, if I get some spare time, I'll grab a litter picker and a bin bag and I'll be over here helping you, because I love that. I love the fact that there's people trying to clear up the park and stuff, you know, in their own time. And I mean, I don't want to brag, but I've
I don't know brag, but
I don't know brag, but I've
brag.
recently been made admin of the neighbourhood WhatsApp group. So there's like 200 people in this group, and
you got made admin.
well, I just want to also point out that someone left or asked is there anyone on this group that would mind stepping up to take the admin role.
Did you submit your CV?
And I was like, I'll do it. I'll fucking do it. And Gemma, who listens to this,
He's trying to
Carl's
work the cameras, and he's
Gemma, who comes to my spin classes, I know she listens to this, but she's on the street WhatsApp, and she straight away was like, course she has. Course she's volunteered. But straight away I went, that'll give me something to talk about on the podcast. And straight away I put a link straight into the WhatsApp that like...
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, great. 200 people.
Well, I thought,
yeah.
I talk a lot about the area on there. So it is... I think that's my shout out for this week is our community, on the Lay Hill area of Northfield, because they are, there's a lot going on. We've got a good community centre. You've got Slimming World that Pam next door goes to on a Friday morning. Pam's in her 80s. She's doing well.
I want to meet Pam.
Pam's ace. She's been at her Target for years. So when you get to your Target on Slimming World, you don't have to pay anymore. So
Really?
she goes every Friday morning because, and she's got a community set up there.
Wow.
Carol runs it. Slimming World, and every Friday morning that is at the Holloway Community Centre, but they've got lots of stuff going on there. They've got play groups that I used to take my kids to when they were babies. There's all sorts going on there, so that for me is really important.
Yeah, and I think when I'm looking for houses now, and the problem about my search for houses of what I can afford and the type of house that I'm used to, like I'm taking my kids to these areas and these houses that are tiny, like the 3rd bedroom. Literally, my daughter's, because she's 6 foot odd, and she's stretching her arms out, and she's like, "Mum, this isn't a bedroom."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "It kind of is, babes, but it wouldn't even fit half of our wardrobes in." But if there's one thing that these areas that aren't as affluent or whatever the word is, where I've been lucky enough to get a rental, there's more community.
Yeah. So
we've got
I am
excited,
community.
and I said to the girls, you know, I'm hoping that you will actually start to have a bit of a community. Like they've never really been hot round to the neighbours and stuff. And I'm like, I made sure they went to good schools, they were in good areas, so they were next to the good school, because I thought that's the only benefit of renting, isn't it?
Yeah,
you can just go next to the good school. But in terms of neighbours, they didn't really. So that's.
Oh, I've got good neighbours. Yeah. Have you got any shout outs?
Carl, will you film me doing this shout out? Because I was just thinking about it, and I might tag them as I'm doing it. Yeah. So can you ask me again? So what?
Yeah. Have you got any shout outs?
So did you do this every week then with shout outs?
Yeah.
That's really good for local businesses.
Small businesses, people, whatever you want. So we do the Spin Justice of the Week feature to sum up every episode, and then we do a shout out, Spin Justice shout out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, last night I went and got some chicken from the most incredible food shop, and I was like, why have I not had this before? The girls, my teenagers, were like, oh, this is better than Wingstop.
Oh, come on,
so
where's
in
that?
Wolverhampton, Smoke Box is this incredible little place. It's not on high street, so you can't you have to Google it. Smoke Box, family owned business. Chicken in there is incredible. They do like curried goat, like every single thing on the item. It's like really naughty food.
You know, like naughty,
you know, like naughty food that when you have it and you're like, oh, that wasn't worth it.
It was worth it.
This every little item on there, like the mac and cheese and all that kind of. It's like its own little categories of pornography where
I love it.
Every little item's just naughty and just brilliant.
You're selling it to me.
I am. I hope I am. Smoke Box.
Smoke Box.
Yeah, in Wolverhampton.
Bit of a mish for me, but if I'm ever over that way, which I could well be because work takes me everywhere, I'll definitely try that. Smoke Box. Right. Thank you so much for coming on and having a chat.
Honey. Thank you. It was really, I hope you didn't see it in my skirt.
Well, if I could, it was only me, but I couldn't. But I'm looking now. Thanks, Carl. If you have a topic that you want to discuss, get in touch at b31spinjustice@gmail.com or via Instagram @spinjustice.